Hi there, I'm Jessi of Clear Sky Professionals, and I'm here with David and Krystle from our team, and we're going to be talking about something a little bit lighter, I think. David, I'm going to start with you and ask, when someone walks into a home and says, "I'll know it when I see it," how do you respond?
Well, I know that people speak in these types of terms, but just telling us, right? Because the idea is we're pulling information out of the client to understand really what they're going to like and value, so that we can help them identify that when we're showing homes, but also so that we can show them the correct homes and not, be, like trying to hit a moving target, right? While that term exists, if someone knows it when they're going to see it, that doesn't help me know what they're looking for, right? So we want more specifics. Like, what is it in your lifestyle that's important? Like, does your family need to be close to the school or close to amenities, close to shopping, close to the medical center, right? Are you thinking about lifestyle as far as how you're going to work as a family in a home? Like, right, you mentioned bedroom families versus what was it, living room families?
Living room families. All right, so let me give you a little bit more of a specific scenario. So we have a male-female couple that you're going to be working with as a buyer.
Yep.
Do you see any tendencies that they are really looking for different things in a home?
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you want to start this one, Krystle?
Sure. They do come at it from different directions, I think, in general, right? It depends on the couple, but we try to observe that and watch and listen, because it doesn't always match what they say directly to us as far as what they want. But I think most women are maybe looking more at things like the kitchen, the living space, and storage, if they're like-minded, like both of us. And men maybe are needing the space for the workshop, or maybe they're looking at the backyard. Those are kind of the two things that I tend to see. How about you?
Well, yeah, and of course it's important to mention that we're making generalizations. We realize this is not every couple or every relationship or situation, but we do see tendencies, especially when it comes to a male-female couple, when they're in the home shopping phases. So, yeah, I think guys are like, backyard, I want to have like grilling space and show off the toys, right? Like, I want a place to park my boat, my trailer, my razor. I want, the man cave, the shed to store all my tools, things like that, right? Does my truck fit in the garage is always a fun one, right? That could be an easy deal breaker because it's a small garage. And with women, I think you nailed it. Storage is such a huge thing, and that could be kitchen storage, that could be laundry room space, that could be the primary bedroom's closet, to make sure, it's so funny when you're showing a house and there's a giant closet and then there's this tiny little like linen closet somewhere, or a second closet that's, much less adequate. And you see the comments of like the guy going, "Oh, well, that's your closet," pointing to the giant closet because he knows about her shoe collection, And so it's fun to see these common trends.
So that being said, when we're speaking in general terms with male-female couples, who falls in love with the home first usually, and who really kind of has more pull in that final decision?
I think it depends on the couple. And sometimes I'll just straight up ask them early when we're getting started working together, who's going to be the main decision maker, right? Who's taking the lead on this home buying journey? And we see statistically that women take the lead in the home buying journey about 70% of the time. But it depending on the relationship, right, they can either already know and let us know who the leader is, right, and let us know who's driving, the conversation and gonna find the home. And then, other times you might even hear them say, "Well, I think it's a 50-50," or they might kind of think originally that it's one or the other, but it's actually the opposite. So I think it's important when we're hearing our client, we're not just hearing the words that they tell us, we are looking through that and finding the actual information that we need. Because, you know, you can have someone start way in left field from where they end up purchasing.
So I do have a story to share. Working with a couple recently, the wife had her set of rules for the kitchen of what she wanted, and the husband wanted the third car garage. But did we only see houses that had a third car garage or a nice kitchen? No, right? Because most buyers will think that they want one thing, and then they'll be like, well, what if? And could we change? And it's important to have that open, I think, mind and look for those maybe things that you could give up or change to make it what you want. But what we settled on in the end had both of those pieces. It just took a while to get there. And so I think listening to both and making sure that when we were looking at homes that didn't match both was really important to remind them, like, this was important to you and this was important to you. So maybe this isn't the right home. Let's keep looking.
Yeah, I agree with that. And sometimes it's about finding the solution for meeting all those needs. And what I mean by that is, hey, I know you said you need the home with the 3-car garage, but what if, right, we have this RV parking on the side of the house, you know, is that going to suit your needs, even though the garage is a 2-car garage? You have the overflow for 2 more parking spots, right, or a gated area where you can keep another vehicle of some sort. So, or it could be, I hear things like, oh, I just can't handle carpet, right? It's like very unpopular to like carpet right now. So I hear that a lot. You're like, well, you know, you can just hire a flooring person, right? Let's look for the house that has everything else you want, and then we'll tackle the flooring. So I think it's important for us to hear what they want, but then point out, hey, this house can be everything you want if we just change this one aspect, because most houses are not perfect.
So since it sounds like, you know, sometimes there's compromises that need to be made in order to find that ideal home, how exactly are you seeing the emotionality of the home purchase show up differently in those couples?
I would say some of that comes to budget, the emotion of the budget, and then some of it's how do you feel when you're in the house, and maybe depend on the person versus their gender, but those are kind of the 2 main things that I see come up.
Yeah, I was thinking budgetary restraints as well that come into play often. You know, if we're really going to check all these boxes and we have a $1.5 million, you know, wants list, but we have an $800,000 budget to work with, then I think getting the focus on the conversation to be, hey, what can you live without, since we're not going to be able to, you know, get everything you want for the budget that you're trying to stay within. The other aspect of that is, hey, you know, if we found all the perfect traits to the home that you're looking for, you know, are you in a position where you could stretch your budget to meet what your want list is? Because oftentimes people start at $600,000 and the house they buy is $900,000. You know, because they realized, oh, well, if I really do want all these things and it's that important to me, then, you know, we need to trim down in another area, or we just need to stretch what our monthly payment feels comfortable at, things like that.
So when working with a couple, who would you say ultimately has the final say, or maybe wins in a scenario when they're having to make those compromises or up the budget or make changes to their initial plan?
Probably the woman in most cases. What would you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking about our own families, right?
Right.
We're going to pick on David, but your wife probably has the final say in a lot of those type of things.
Yeah, I think when we were buying a house, I was definitely taking the lead, but in other areas of our relationship, she definitely wins at the end of the day. So, yeah, it does depend on the couple for sure, but we commonly do notice that one person is going to take the lead. And it's not bad to try to identify, from our end especially, who that person is.
Yeah. And sometimes just asking as well, because that dynamic is probably really well recognized by that couple.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a whole lot easier when you're just like, hey, at the end of the day, like, who cares more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a scenario right now where our client is moving up into the dream house that his wife wants, right? They have absolutely no necessity for this move up. It is completely because, out of his mouth, he said, happy wife, happy life. That kind of like, if it makes her happy, then I'm willing to take the leap, absorb the financial, leap or cost to the new lifestyle. And like the kids, frankly, don't even care probably. Like in the big picture, that's very, unimportant to them. So they're jumping through the hoops, and it's great to see. So she says, this is what I want, and he's there going, I'll make it happen.
It's a good couple. That's probably how they work well together.
Right, yeah. Right.
But it can go both ways, right? I think if the husband has a strong opinion and the wife's there to support too, then that works too.
I've seen other scenarios that one of the two people have a business that they need the house to accommodate, right? And so, hey, he needs storage for his work vehicle, or vehicles or equipment, right? And that's a huge thing. Or she's running some type of small studio out of her house, or hey, they really want that home with the mother-in-law quarters, planning for their parents to move in at some point to help support their parents. So we're seeing a lot of those kinds of things. Having homes that have the flexibility in spaces to have a rental for income or family dynamics is much more popular now. You're even seeing 3 generations of family living in a home.
Oh, man, there's a lot of teamwork happening there. I think a lot of it is just, it's a little bit of a counseling sesh, like headed into home shopping is like, oh, wow, we're having a lot of conversations about our values that we didn't really previously talk about. We probably need to set aside some time and really dial in what's important to each of us and who's willing to make concessions when those needs can't or wants can't necessarily be met. And I think that that's kind of how our roles as agents end up feeling sometimes, is a little bit of a counselor role, trying to guide the conversation to be able to have them communicate with each other about what is really important.
Yeah, maybe it is just really bridging that gap between the couple. Like I think you're referencing, hey, maybe you guys should talk about the location you want to be in before we're starting to shop for the house you want. That just happened with me. And I basically said, hey, you have 5 locations that you're thinking about moving to. I think, if I said to her, hey, can you give me your number 1 and your number 2? And her number 1 was the same as his number 1 when I asked him the same question. And I go, okay, well, why don't you take the next week to really make sure that you feel like that location is the number 1 on your list, because now we have a smaller target to aim for, and we can focus our energy on finding the neighborhood and finding the house that you really like.
So are we seeing any differences in the way generations are handling home buying and the conversations that they're having and what they're looking for in homes, younger generations versus older generations?
Yeah, I think that the millennials, being a big portion of home buyers, are much more tech savvy or tech driven, right? So they do a lot more investigating, from home, from their computers, from their phones, just, figuring out like neighborhood statistics or where, location, the home buying process, right? And in some ways, it's a good thing, and in other ways, it's not, because I think that we all, as humans, have a little bit of pride in thinking we know better than someone that might be trying to guide us or be, counseling us towards what's going to be good for us. So sometimes the advice is not received as well as, older generations, where we can really give them a lot of good information as being the reputable source, and then they can utilize that to help make good decisions, where millennials probably have already started making those decisions, and then trying to pull them away and get their trust towards the direction they might be better for them can be more challenging. I think also that could relate to finding the right lender, right? Or shopping costs of things a lot more, right? I think older generations value the expertise, right? They see that they're willing to pay more for a good expert in their camp to help them have a smooth process and make good decisions. And maybe they have more reasons to bank on that expertise, right, in their life experience. Younger generations, I think, are more money decision driven, and so they're gonna use the Rocket Mortgages of the world, right, or the discount agents of the world. And maybe I shouldn't name names, right? But it's true. I mean, yeah, you might get a better rate with a certain big bank, right? But what if that costs you money in the long run because you didn't know what loan program to choose that would be better for you in the long run? Or maybe you didn't have all the options in front of you to make the best decision because you're just picking from some type of, list online of like what direction to go. So I think that, there's something to both, right? There's something to price shopping, whether it's loan costs, interest rates, et cetera, from like a financing standpoint, or what the commission's going to be for the agent. But at the same time, like valuing the expertise of having the right people in your camp.
So do you have any like final advice that you would give, kind of overarching, just getting started advice for couples that are going to be out shopping for either their first time home or, maybe that next move up?
I do. I think the important thing is to, one, come with an open mind that what you value may be a little different than the person you're shopping with. And so have those conversations first, and then talk to your agent, right? So that you can iterate what you really do want, kind of come together on that. But having that open mind of maybe there's a different way to get there is really valuable and really important. That would be probably my first advice.
Thanks for that.
So if you like our content, we'd love to hear from you. Make sure you subscribe and even comment below. We want to know what experiences you've had and the differences between you and your partner and the relationships that you have when it comes to buying a home or anything else.